Perek Yud Halacha Tes in Hilchos Melochim. The Rambam begins. Oivi Gechom Shosik B'Torah Chayav Misa. A guy who learns Torah is Chayav Misa. And they will go to the Peirush L'Yasik Ela B'Sheva Mitzvahs She'elahen B'Lvad. They can only study the 7 mitzvahs. Gezer Mishnah Side Sanhedrin. Omar B'Yochanan. Goy Shosik B'Torah Chayav Misa. If a guy who studies Torah is liable for the death penalty. The more questions from a Brisa. Even a guy that I see with Torah is like a Kohen Gadol. The more answers only on the Sheva Mitzvahs Mutter. He has a mile that is called like the Kohen Gadol. The Vaz adds that the more derives Torah Tzivon on Moshe, Peirush of the Hilchos Yaakov. Torah was commanded to us as an inheritance, not from Noach. It says that let it be put into the 7 mitzvahs. The answer to the limit of Merosha as an inheritance is the opinion that Goy is as if he steals it from Yisrael. It's called Gezel. And those who learn Merosha, meaning engaged to, and Goy who delves into it, he gets skila. Well, now I'm also because our is within the 7 mitzvahs. Still, since it's not counted specifically among the 7, he's not killed for it. And therefore, the Rambam says he's liable to death penalty, but it doesn't say he's ne'erak, which means that the court has to give it to him. But there's if he says he's not killed. You see at the end of the parak. Parak Ches, Halacha Yud, says Moshe Rabbeinu did not give Torah mitzvahs only to Yisrael. It says Melochim Yaakov, inheritance to the gathering of Yaakov, and everyone who wants to convert from any other nation, as it says, just like the convert. But somebody doesn't want to, you don't force them to convert. There's no need to do so, because the Mishnah cites Sanhedrin that we just mentioned here, Nun Tes. You should only deal with the 7 mitzvahs alone. This is even on Yisrael, that they're forbidden to give over the Torah to a goy, like we find in Chagiga, Amar B'Ami. You don't give a Torah to a goy because it says, he who said his words to Yaakov, his decrees and his laws to Yisrael, he did not do so to any other nation, and his laws are not supposed to be known to them. But the Be'er Sheva points out that the Rambam and the Rishonim left this out, and maybe he doesn't codify the Halacha from there. In Baba Basra it's brought down that Yisrael, who teaches children that are not Jewish, and the Be'er Sheva argues it doesn't mean in the Gemara he teaches them wisdom that's not Torah, which is included in teaching them a craft, but rather he's teaching them Torah's Hashem, and it would seem so from the Rambam and all the Shchenim. Therefore, the Poskim left it out that it's forbidden to teach a Goy Torah. In Bava Kama, it says that the kingdom of Greeks sent 2 officers to ask from the Chachmei Yisrael to teach them Torah, and they learned it once, second time, and 3rd time. Tosfos point out you're not allowed to teach Torah Goy, and he said here it was a question of life and death, therefore it was permitted. The Be'er Sheva answers that this forbiddenness is not codified. He recites, he who writes that Yisrael teaches Torah to a Goy transgresses is on the transgression of do not put a stumbling block before a person. And prophets and writings, you can teach them, because he sees in them the revenge that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does to the nations that don't that hurt Klal Yisrael, and the answers. You can answer somebody who doesn't believe in God, and he adds that Avami permitted to teach Torah to a goy, he only forbade to teach him its reasons, the concepts behind it, and therefore he says you don't give it over, rather you don't teach it. Shuvas Yad Eliyahu, he explains the poskim left it out because it's understandable. You don't have to write it. As Tosfos questions the Shema Bolchonon, why do you need a posuk that's forbidden to teach Torah to a goy? We'll know it ourselves, because a goy is forbidden to deal with Torah, and therefore it's forbidden for Yisrael to teach it to him, because he's causing a transgression on the goy. And he answers, if even the goy wants to learn to teach another goy, and he'll teach him without Yisrael teaching him, so it's forbidden for Yisrael to teach them because of Maya Devar Yaakov. It's supposed to be taught only to Yaakov. Then Yaakov cites another answer, that in their name, that only after Hashem took away from the Goyim the 7 mitzvahs, and if they keep it, they now keep it as not commanded, in other words, not obligatory, not something that they were commanded to do, but we were obligated to tell them about it. Then they're not considered a goy oisik b'Torah. The 7 mitzvahs that he's like a goy gadol, and therefore you can't even teach him 7 mitzvahs. That's a very strong position. Yalio cites the words of the Rambam. A goy can learn the 7 mitzvahs. He doesn't mention that Yisrael shouldn't teach it to them. Not like the Yaakov. And he adds that we can't say that today you don't teach them. The Rambam relied on what it says in Sanhedrin on Tez, that a goy who's oisik, who studies the 7 mitzvahs, is like a kohen gadol. He brings them to Tosfos that they taught Torah to these messengers of the kingdom of Greece against their will, because they're not obligated to give it to others, or they converted. The Marshal forbade to teach Torah to a goy, even because of Shalom Malchus. Therefore, according to the first answer, it's only to teach it because they might kill you. Certainly, for the benefit of Hanoah, when there's no detriment to life. And you can't teach them anything with the Torah when you teach to a goy. The Adonai adds that even the 7 mitzvahs you can't teach them the hidden reasons of it, and he cites Chagiga. It says you do not give over. It doesn't say you don't teach them. And the Mashor cites that the Beersheba, that's beginning to give them the reasonings, the secrets. The Adonai continues that even by the 7 mitzvahs, we don't tell them the secrets, the background to it. He cites in the famous Rae, forbidden to tell them the reasoning of Torah, like in Ksubis. Hashem Baruch Hu made Yisrael take an oath. They will not let the nations of the world know the secrets of Torah. Rashi explains, Asoid, this is the reasoning of the Torah. Or, the way we reckon the Numu, the Adiyah was of the opinion that Soid is how souls are made, like the Rikanti, the Vush. The oath was only on these secrets, but the forbiddenness is by anything. And to teach them Torah without the secrets is forbidden, because you transgress on the thing. The Beersheba infers from all the halachic authorities, you can't teach them anything. He left it out because it's included in putting a stumbling block before somebody who's not supposed to be doing it, and therefore he left it out because they relied on Hilchos Talmud Torah. You shouldn't teach a Talmud even a Jewish Talmud, who is not worthy of being taught. Maybe Yisrael, that's not a proper person, so forbidden to teach him, certainly to a goy. And he says, why by the goy do they say it's forbidden? Because it says he taught his words to Yaakov. and his laws to Yisrael, and Yisrael she'eino was not a proper. They said Chum 133 is like Yizaylik Evan and Marculus. It's like throwing a stone at Marculus, meaning doing Avodah Zarah. And certainly at Talmud she'eino we're talking about it like the Kraim. They don't believe in Torah She'ol Peh. And if you study with them, they'll find there's no Kal V'chomer. And if it's a crime, it's because they'll bend it out of shape. But if it's a goy, it should be permitted. If we come back to the question why the poskim left out this forbiddenness. Therefore, Yad Yoel says that the forbiddenness to teach a Talmud that is not worthy is not talking about only by somebody who's apostate or heretic, but rather it includes also somebody who doesn't go on the correct way, like in Hilchos Talmud Torah. It brings proof of that. Furthermore, that even a Talmud that's not worthy, we're asked that in your Torah you can teach it to him at that moment. Just you don't bring him into the base medrash until he does tshuva. And a goy, it's forbidden to teach him even when he asks regarding that. And what we find, the goyim questioned the Torah, and we answered them, it was because of Kiddush Hashem. They shouldn't say that they had the upper hand when it came to debating a Jew. And in this is included, you should know what to answer to an apostate, and by a goy that's permitted. Mr. Echema answered the Rambam, left it out because he relied on what he wrote in Hilchos Avodim by slaves. You can't teach an Eved, certainly not a goy. He relied on what he wrote here. A goy who studies Torah is liable for death. Certainly, you can't teach them because it's a stumbling block before them. So too, a guy who rests, he doesn't do work. I feel any day of the week. It doesn't have to be specifically Shabbos. Shabbos. If he made it for himself like Shabbos, he's liable for death penalty. But when he rests, he's not liable for resting. The Ein Tzor Loimim also moyed. Certainly, if he made a holiday la'atzmoi, he's liable for the death penalty. Because the Mishnah cites Sanhedrin. Reish Lakish says, "Goyish Shavas Chayim Misa." A goy who rested on Shabbos is liable for the death penalty. Shanema, it says in Peirush 8:22. Yom v'layla lo yishbosu. Day and night shall he not rest. And this warning is their death penalty. Rashi explains that even though the simple understanding of the passage is that the times of day of the year will not change, but we use it also that man should not rest from work a complete day. The Gemara continues, even if it's not Shabbos, even Monday. Rashi explains, rest alone, it's forbidden, even on a day that it has no din of resting, like a Monday, regular weekday. Jews aren't forbidden to work. As adds, they get more questions, why isn't this included in the 7 mitzvahs b'nei Noach? And he answers because it's considered not doing something, and the only things that are in the 7 mitzvahs are those that are forbidden to do. And all the 7 mitzvahs are, you can't kill, etc. Do not do. But the obligation of going forward in order not to rest is not part of the 7 mitzvahs. Rambam says, the general rule is a manich noisin charish das. We don't let him renew a religion, make a new religion, mitzvahs, and make new laws, commandments. For themselves, from their own logic. Elo, but rather they should be like a convert, and they should accept all the Torah mitzvahs, like Yisrael, We should keep the 7 mitzvahs. They should not add and they should not subtract. If you learn Torah or Shabbos or Chidish Dover, or he kept Shabbos or he put in a new commandment, we punish him, and we strike him and we punish him. We let him know that he is liable for death penalty for this. But he is not killed for it. Here he tells us 3 things. The guy who learns Torah is Chayav Misa, the guy who rests is Chayav Misa, and he can't give us a new religion. Machon Nesher HaGodol writes, it would seem that you don't let them renew a religion only if they say it's a religion, like Shabbos or a holiday. They say it's Min HaShamayim to rest on this day. But im einoi mitzad das, el sheino oitze la'avoid beretzef, if he doesn't want to work continuously, because that makes him weak, therefore it establishes a resting from Shabbos, so he should have strength to work on other days. He's not liable for death penalty. And the Rambam also says that this is the understanding of the Rambam. But from Rashi, it would seem that even if he only establishes a day for rest, he's liable death penalty as well. The Rambam and the Radvaz disagree in what is the Rambam's position. To the Rambam, only if he says Shabbos for himself, he's liable death penalty, because he thought of it, took it out of his own heart, and not because he established according to his logic. Radvaz, even if he says it for himself as a great day of rest, not as a religion, he's still liable according to which is the opinion that causes Rashi. He's not killed for it, because the Mishnah cites that he's only killed on the 7 mitzvahs. Even though in Sanhedrin it says that a goy who teaches Torah is considered like he's stealing, or he's considered like having a relationship with a betrothed maiden, he's not killed, because the Rambam's the opinion that that's just rabbinical reliance, but it's not a specific forbiddenness min Torah. Any questions from the Gemara? It seems that a goy should be killed, because they question a goy who rested is amongst the 7 mitzvahs, and he answers that again only those things that are forbidden to do. He explains that the Rambam learns the question of the Gemara to count a goy who rested on the 7 mitzvahs that's forbidden to him, but he's not killed. He's only killed on the 7 mitzvahs. There are those who say not on all the 7 mitzvahs he killed, like in Sanhedrin. And it's enough that the Halacha that on all the 7 mitzvahs he's killed, and we need not add to them. Yes, the Mishnah adds, here we are taught that there's an obligation of death, min hashamayim, that there's nothing actually supposed to be done to them. Halacha Mishnah cites from Sanhedrin that there's nothing that for Yisrael is permitted and Goy is forbidden. And he questions the Rambam, how did the Rambam write a Jew can rest and a Goy is forbidden? A Jew can learn Torah and a Goy is forbidden. Also Tosfos and Sanhedrin there questions this as well, and the answer that we don't make a goy similar to Yisrael when Yisrael is keeping a mitzvah. Therefore, it could be for a goy that he's not commanded, it'll be forbidden. But the Rambam is the opinion that since the Yisrael he is commanded, certainly it's not forbidden for a goy, he's liable death penalty on it. And therefore he explains that the obligation of death, which is said by a goy who rests and he's oisei b'Torah, is d'Rabbanan. And they relied on the Psukim. And the Gemara questions, they should mention in the 7 mitzvahs that which is forbidden, like the Kesef Mishnah says. Why don't they mention it? And a goy that struck a Jew, he's liable for death penalties, d'Rabbanan. That these are mentioned together. As Chinuch cites in the Halacha Mishnah, that it could be that Bnei Noach have forbiddenness rabbinically. The later commentaries question this. Only by Yisrael do we find that they have to keep the words of the Chacham, because it says "Leisosim and Adov Asher Yigidu Locho." But Bnei Noach are not commanded under Rabbanans. So the Mishnah Melech writes, I didn't see that they made any boundaries to what a goy is not permitted to do, because that's really usually what the Chachamim forbade. The Sam Sofer questions. According to the Rambam, only with the Rabbanon we paskin is very good the Eisel Lechumah, and the din of the Rabbanon is only on Yisrael. But a goy, any doubtful things should be permitted, because there's no takonos chachomim for a goy. If we say it's rabbinically forbidden when in doubt, the Machon Nesher cites the Mishnah Lamelach, who discusses if somebody causes his oil to come back, that he has to again circumcise himself as rabbinically, and therefore, according to the Rambam, Bnei Keturah should be liable if they cover they make it look as if their foreskin has come back. They should have to do it again. Mishnah Melech adds that we don't see that the Chacham made any special rules regarding Bnei Noach. Machon Nesher questions, who established the Bezdin of Yisrael to judge the nations? The din is only that Bnei Yisrael are obligated to listen to their judges. It says Leisoso, not Bnei Noach. And he concludes that this needs great thought. You can't answer that only in the mitzvah Chachamim to listen to the Chacham is learned from Leisoso, but that which is boundaries we learn from Visham was Mishmalti, and meaning you should make sure that people are able to keep the mitzvahs, and there's a strength to make an edict on the goyim, because we don't find that basically the Bezdin Shel Yisrael have a power to make an edict on Bnei Noach. Besides, the Sam Sofer also had difficulty with this. He brings the Rambam and the Torah and seem to say that there's no such power in the hands of the Rabbanon regarding the goyim. The Marash Al-Ghazi cites, it says, you tell him that he's liable for death penalty, but you don't kill him. And by goy, which struck a Jew, it says Halacha Vov, even though he's liable for death penalty, you don't kill him. Isn't that the difference? Is that a goy who learns Torah or Shabbos or made a new holiday, etc., is liable for the death penalty, but he's not killed. Just if they didn't warn him, they didn't let him know. Therefore, we let him know he's liable to the death penalty on this, but he's not killed. If they didn't let him know, if they did let him know, you would kill him. It doesn't mean that he needs warning, like we do by a Jew, but we just make it publicly known, and therefore he should have learned. If he didn't learn, he's liable. Somebody didn't learn is not in the category of saying I thought it was permissible. Therefore, somebody teaches a goy, and he went ahead and studied Torah, or he kept Shabbos, he didn't know he's liable, he's potter. And he emphasizes it's not called close to being a willful act, because you can't say somebody who's a Torah or Shabbos, he should have learned and he didn't learn. Therefore, we have to let him know before the goy arrests or a Torah is Chaya Misa. If they didn't let him know, he's not killed. The Rambam learned this so from the Lashonos in the Gemara, that a goy who kept Shabbos, who learned Torah, these are not counted. We reckon them in the 7 mitzvahs. They're similar to them, because we have to make it known to them. It's as if the 7 mitzvahs which are forbidden by a goy who's liable misa when he strikes a Jew. That the Gemara didn't question, because there's only the chiyuv misa b'dei shamayim, and he is not killed for that.